All set?
Yes, let's go.
Great. So, speaking of Industry 4.0, how do you see it from the business side?
It's a PDP loop allows them to take a better decision. Bringing three worlds together, like
When we go to and talk to clients, there is a gap.
then there are achievers and losers at both ends.
So, why it should be on their to-do list as a priority?
Considering from the CXO levels, what they are trying to achieve, that, it's like for these requirements, Industry 4.0 is the right choice for that.
Asking me when we can expect the ROI.
Every first visit of any customer, this is the first question going to be
Today is the right time to
start us today itself.
how is the adoption of Industry 4.0 in different sectors?
Growing rapidly.
Can Industry 4.0 be implemented in our small industry or small business manufacturing unit?
Possible.
Investment
AI helps in a very vast manner.
with AI and with Industry 4.0, both there is a perception that these are two technologies which take away jobs.
Also, we should know the influencing factor for the
Welcome everyone to the Next Big Thing podcast. Today we'll be diving deep into one of the most talked about topics in tech, that is Industry 4.0. As a concept, it has been talked, watched, written, heard a lot, but when we go to our clients, we still see a bit of inhibition, certain gaps. In this episode, we'll be showing you a different perspective to Industry 4.0. We'll be navigating these gaps and we'll show you a path to a very smooth and productive implementation to Industry 4.0. Speaking of Industry 4.0, I believe and I think that it is vastly written about, talked about, but everybody looks at it through different set of lenses. They seem to interpret it differently. So I would love to know your perspectives of it. How do you see it from the business side?
I think from my perspective, Industry 4.0 is a evolution that started from mechanical, then transitions toward electrification, then towards automation, computation. Now we are talking about Industry 4.0. That's about how machines talk to each other. In a layman term, if I need to explain, that's a PDP loop.
Yeah.
That's physical to digital, then how digital data talks to a digital, where we are putting AI technology, the machine learning algorithm, and at last they are giving the prescriptive action that we need to take, that the operator, the production department, any organization need to take. So that's what Industry 4.0 from my perspective.
So, Industry 4.0 is not only the technological, it's reshaping the workforce, business goals, and the supply chains also. It allows the people, highly skilled people who's working on the shop floor or, like office or something like that, it also allows them to take a better decision or, some creative planning or something using this technology. So it is a lot of, mileage to the people in that sense.
Interesting.
I would like to add on to other wherein Industry 4.0 largely speaks about bringing three worlds together, like being physical, digital, and the virtual all together, and bringing the data into actions meaningfully.
So, I mean, the perspective which Azhar gave was pretty interesting because generally people think it's a technical revolution, but it's at the same time, it is about a cultural change as well. If you're going to implement Industry 4.0, there has to be certain structural and cultural change in your company.
Very true.
So, yeah. So, I would also like to come to this section that there are a lot of articles, podcast, interviews given, heard, listened, watched on Industry 4.0. But still, when we go to and talk to clients, there is a gap. They are not completely aware, or even if they are aware, there is a certain inhibition to it. What are people missing out?
So, I just want to give one example. Like, we everyone uses a fitness band, right? So it gives a better dashboard, better insight,
Right.
and everything. But a lot of people can understand some of the dashboards. When it comes to line charts or bar chart or something like that, they can understand that how the trend is going. But most of the people can't visualize or take decision on that one. It's very good to see, a very funny type of, very fancy type of, dashboards and everything. So. From that, how to take a better decision, that is very important. So whenever we used to approach the customer, when we used to interact with the customer thinks that Industry 4.0 is just a data capture.
Right.
What they does is that they capture the data, they store the data, they start visualizing or showing dashboards and everything. That's it. And they say that there is no return for this investment because it's just a showcase piece. From that, some meaningful output should come. Better decision has to be taken. The business has to be grown, right? To start that extent, it is not going. So that's the reason a lot of misperception on, Industry 4.0 in terms of, ROI and everything it comes.
Abdullah, what's your
Yeah,
experience?
the inhibitions where it is like which you are putting across. Industry 4.0 is widely spoken,
Right.
and yet people feel, am I the right person to make decision, or are we on the right track of making the right investment on Industry 4.0? Or some of them would eagerly go behind digitization as a fancy term take forward with a lot of investment on bringing the data, capturing the data of all kind of machines in their ecosystem. Adding on to the inhibitions a company has, any company would have, or rather we find in many decision makers' eyes with respect to Industry 4.0, should we go for that investment, or this is the right moment, or not. It's all due to the support they lack in terms of making right decisions.
That's true. One more thing I want to add here. Suppose if you are planning for Industry 4.0, okay, we should understand whether I'm ready for that Industry 4.0.
Right.
That is very important.
How do you determine that?
Yeah,
If
so
we are ready or not?
I'm coming to that. So, what happened is that, everybody some other manufacturing sector or someone is doing Industry 4.0, they are getting a lot of, optimization in terms of cost or performance or quality or anything. They are getting a lot of optimization on that. And those people gives a feedback to this industry. And now they think, okay, we also should invest on that one. Are we ready? Are my people ready? My machines are ready. So everything need to be assessed first. Okay. And what exactly I'm going to achieve out of that one? I want to do a complete automations, complete data capturing and, data processing or something, or I should go for a specific problem. Because, sometimes an organization can have a bigger problem on a specific wastage or, utility consumption or something like that. They may be having a specific problem. So they can start, talking about the specific problem, do an analysis on the same, then start with that.
I think
we need to, from my perspective, we need to understand these organizations into three categories. First is, like as I was saying, that there is trend going on. Everyone is implementing AI, Industry 4.0, and they need to implement in their organization. So there is a cautious starter. Some of the companies are investigating how to works toward the digital transformation. And one is the frustrated experimenter. They have implemented, they got some success from the pilot phase, but they don't know about the ROI, how they can achieve it. And third is the ready to scaler. They implemented in three, four plants, but they are still doesn't know how to maximize the return. So these type of three categories I've encountered in today's world. Like everyone is talking about Industry 4.0, implementing it. Now the AI technology, Gen AI comes. So yeah.
Yeah, actually, the first question we used to face is that what is the ROI I'm going to get?
Right.
They will say that, okay, I want to implement Industry 4.0, and they will say that what is the ROI I'm going to get? It's a very difficult.
I think it comes from the perception internet has made, mostly, or large giant companies have made, set an example as, because whenever you
And also, there's something more to be looked upon. See, like Tushar added, like that different way people look at it. Like, should I invest or let me jump in? People are on two poles, and both have. Then there are achievers and losers at both end. Best, and so when you look at the inhibitions at large, companies as a solution format, if we have to recommend a company where, if this is what we do with any other client when we talk to them, you have business problems. Let us look at that. We first, the company has to come with a top level decision, not from the shop floor that I would want to capture the data and do something about it. Then the project will not take the desired result or outcome. The most important thing here for an organization, like when we've been meeting different kind of manufacturers here. So one of the things what we have seen with most of them is that there's always the lack of assistance that they always come short of when they make a decision. So what we ideally recommend, go with a vision that's coming from the top. It's not like a shop floor takes a decision that we would be implementing some kind of data capturing and stay with it. No, it need to be aligned with the company's vision and the larger goals. Second, you need to do a proper assessment, thorough assessment about the problems and what more than the problems, looking at the system and the different kind of scenarios, like in terms of motion, in terms of the layout, in terms of architecture. Then third, arrive at prioritization of what problems would you want to address first. Once you arrive, then look at what amount of data would be needed to be captured. And even if you are a large organization and you still identify the set of problems that needs a resolution, or digitizing will solve the problem, we clearly have an identification. Still, go with a step-by-step approach.
Process, right?
Always start small, because this digitization, industrial IoT, Industry 4.0 is not that expensive anymore, because devices, IoT devices have come so economical these days.
I think that was an old perception people had.
Yeah. It's been the notion that's been going on for over a decade.
Looking at the ring giants, and when you actually, people's perception when they think of Industry 4.0 is those robotic arms automating everything.
Correct.
But that's not.
It was on Industry 3.0. Okay, automations and computerization. That was on the 3.0.
Right.
The 4.0 is not that. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's a gap which is happening. And one more thing is that those people who already invest on Industry 4.0 and they don't have a return out of that one. It's the right time that they should go back and look into what went wrong. Are we capturing the right thing? Are we doing the right thing with the data? So this is very important that we should do a reassessment on that one and bring something out of that.
So coming back to Abdullah's point, where he was trying to say that Industry 4.0 is not a just production project, but rather an organizational project which has to align with the company's vision from top. So I would like to know, like, there are CXOs who take this decisions, okay, their manufacturing or their business needs Industry 4.0 now. So why it should be on their to-do list as a priority, that this is something I want to implement for my organization? What are they going to get out of it?
So considering from the CXO levels, what they are trying to achieve, that it's like a cost optimization, performance, quality, and everything, right? And they want to bring a lot of innovations into this one. So for these requirements, Industry 4.0 is a right choice for that. Okay. The reason is that without any data or without any proper data, or you just assume that in a bigger plant or something like that, a manufacturing unit, the events which is happening across all the location, it's very huge. Okay, so a human being cannot go there and completely analyze that and take a certain decision. That is highly impossible. So we need a system for that one, and the system has to learn that, and system gives us some predictive or some assistance to the top management to take a certain decision, to take a certain business goals, to achieve that and bring more innovations.
The data transparency is one thing, right? That is gonna hugely benefit the CXO.
When the machine starts speaking, you can assume that there's no a loophole that
anomalies are not there.
There's no possibility of manipulating your data. It's very transparent. The stakeholder.
I think manipulation may not be correct, but one of the challenges that when we talk about Industry 4.0, it's something like putting a camera on top of me. Whatever I'm doing on my shop floor, the camera is going to watch. Because the system talks the data. So it gives a proper data to the management, and it gives a room for improvement to the top management. So it's very important that they get that opportunity to optimize everything. Okay. Right. So it's not only the manipulation part, but people has a tendency of that. Sometimes even people does that without understanding also, because they are not known to these type of datas and everything. So that problem also happens.
And adding one point to this, companies where we've implemented Industry 4.0 at large, they have taken the data that we've been inferring as they set the benchmark of their KPIs and KRAs for the organizations and the departments, and even for the shop floor members to work upon. That is the ended target for the organization. So you look at the impact of Industry 4.0, that bringing in the whole structure. We have been talking about like Toyota implemented Kaizen, lean management. That's very cumbersome process in a way to arrive at the most lean format of operation. But it's when Industry 4.0, when the machine starts speaking, you get accurate data.
Correct.
And with the trend, you can set the KPI benchmarks, and that derives organizations' goals every day, every year, with possible improvements plannable. in advance.
I think
Yeah, another challenge like getting the high quality resources, because these manufacturing industry, it's not a white collar job, right?
yes,
So
it's not.
getting engineers for that, who's actually trained and well experienced on that, it's very challenging. In the previous era, what happened, even before the automation, people were doing all the manual works and they were very much expert on the process, and those people will be continuing there. But after sometimes, if they are not available, the problem is that the quality of the production or the cost will be going up. Okay, this is a challenge which we used to face. So these things are very important.
That's correct. So I was reading a report where it was saying that in US and Europe, people are taking early retirement, and those workers were doing the labor intensive work. So, and now industries after these technology, industry 4.0, AI and ML, they need workers who are efficient with advanced technology. So now manufacturers are struggling to get the right kind of resources, and I think here industry 4.0 helps because it is making many redundant tasks easier, plus it is giving you data. It's kind of making you operate with a smaller resource scale as well, I think.
Even the advanced AR VR things, which is
Right.
coming, the training, the smart trainer, giving all the learning to the new people that who is joining the organization, how this process can be done. What is SOP for that
Correct.
one? In a virtual world, it's not like a physical thing. We cannot directly put a new engineer or something directly to the machine and go and do something, right? So in a virtual world, they can experience this, then they can go to the production. So
Right.
that gives a lot of.
If you think Industry 4.0 is a necessity to be competitive in the market, you have to be work parallelly with the technology.
That's right.
If we talk about the industry, for example, print industry, we have been to Europe, we have been talking to different publishers across the globe. So the paper price has been soaring.
Increased,
Yeah.
it's soaring, yeah.
So the raw material is increasing, but the profit would be stagnating because we will be getting the same price from the people.
Right.
So we have to do something in production. We have to,
We need to be more efficient.
right, we have to reduce the waste.
Even the energy costs.
Right, energy costs.
And so
The soap cost is also high when you talk about Europe.
Right.
Yeah. So,
after the COVID, during the COVID time, the print distribution was the biggest challenge, right?
True.
And after
Yes.
COVID, the trend itself is gone in reading newspapers.
Right.
Everyone is converting to the digital. So those people who when Tushar was talking about the print industry, I just want to talk something about that. Few of the companies who actually invested via us in Industry 4.0, now they are operating in a high efficient manner because they are getting all the insight where which optimization can be done, the raw material and everything, all the clarity is coming there. So that helps them.
So can you give an example from this, case study from our client you're talking about? What benefits or what more the CXOs were able to derive after they implemented Industry 4.0 there in their business?
It's operational excellence, definitely, because there are chain of process which is happening. There are different type of process like a discrete, continuous, different type of process involved in any manufacturing segment, right? So they, how to optimize that, the operational efficiency, how to optimize that, how we can do that one by identifying where the more time consuming is happening, how to increase the productivity of the machine. It's overall equipment efficiency. So we normally does the overall equipment efficiency via performance, quality, and quality availability manner. So increasing the availability of the machine or reducing downtime, because the downtime is one of the major
Correct. That's
factor on the overall equipment efficiency. So these type of optimization they can do, and they can increase the capacity of the plant, and they can do a better output out of that.
So we touched over, we got an understanding of the strategic value that Industry 4.0 brings. But when we talk about the production team who is working on the shop floor, and when we talk about production efficiency, supply chain, there are a range of or array of benefits that Industry 4.0 brings into the picture. So can you elaborate on that what are the technical and operational benefits?
So it very clearly evident outcomes are there in terms of see, unplanned shutdowns are reduced, breakdowns are predicted. Even in consumables, in terms of any consumable quantity has been reduced efficiently, and scheduling has been intelligent. Let's say, for example, if you are doing smart scheduling, when did be an example what we have come through. When we were implementing Industry 4.0 for one of the largest packaging company in the world. So they make products for different manufacturers, packaging for different manufacturers. So this is a 24/7 operational plant. They have multiple plants across the world. So when we look at it, when start looking at it, they have about 2.5 hours they spent as a changeover from one batch to another, one production batch to another. And looking at that, why it has been the case, where could we bring in a kind of improvement to that?
Yeah.
We were able to identify that. See, there's certain mechanical elements of that maintenance period in terms of changing the die or the mold, and some mechanical exchanges. Except that many of the manual interventions in form of checking the temperature, oil level, and the several other components that's coming manually, so being done by an expert, right, to verify it's up to the mark, we're able to bring down. So it was resulting down to reducing 20% of the changeover period, which reflects directly on the bottom line of the large organization, like that. So this is an example of changeover how one of the examples how the intelligent scheduling can help. And so adding on to manufacturers' benefits, even the shop floor mistakes in human error that is causing devastating scenarios can be avoided.
Yeah.
We can predict several machine component health, like drive. Probably Asa was a person who was able to see it firsthand, and he'll be able to add on to that.
So, one scenario that, they were having multiple locations in a country, okay? And all the machine configurations are same, the motor capacity is same, drive same, everything same. But, some of the locations, randomly, these drive used to get failed. Okay, and one drive fail means it's a major downtime for their entire operation.
Right.
So this was a problem statement which was given by the customer to us. What we did is that we start capturing this data from all the drives, analyze that, and we start predicting the data.
Okay.
So this brings one more topic, like the predictive maintenance.
Yeah.
Okay, predictive maintenance also. Previously, the preventive maintenance, it's like a scheduled one. Like after this many number of hours, we may be having some sensors or something like that. Which may be saying that okay, this many jobs are continued or some completed or something. Based on those information, it creates a schedule and gives a notification to the user that okay, this one's activity has to be done, which is due for that particular machine. So these are like a predefined configurations which runs on the machine. Where in predictive, what happened, actual health of the machine also started capturing. So sometimes it is not necessary that after 100 hours of running, this maintenance has to be done, because that operational environment is entirely different. It may require a maintenance, early maintenance, and if you can predict that upfront, the downtime is cutting down. So this is a lot of advantage to the production.
But I think we talked about the drive, we talked about all the positive points. But when I'm talking to industrialists, when I'm talking to organization, they're asking me when we can expect the ROI, when we can see the result. So what's the best answer we can give it?
It's a common discussion at every first visit of any customer. This is the first question going to be, because okay, investment, ROI, and the time base. This is the three questions which we used to face every time. Okay, so there is also another one more thing which I want to add, that these people thinks that those companies who did the Industry 4.0 implementation on the same domain can only deliver here. That is also wrong. Okay, the ROI, how we can predict the ROI? By identifying or assess the current situation of your production. Okay,
Right.
there can be, still it may not be completely automated. We have to identify and complete the gap of Industry 3.0 first. Okay, there may be, still the more manpower may be utilizing that. Okay, but first we have to optimize, we have to make ready our, the current infrastructure to Industry 4.0. From there, we have to start. Then we have to do the assessment there, that all the problems, all the work, all the activities which is happening, including the climate, the environment, everything which comes to the picture, and identify all the data points, And then we can talk about that one. This is, over this many period of time, in terms of the quality, in terms of the cost, in terms of the performance, we can achieve so and so. Even the machine performance increase also is an ROI for the organization. So always it cannot be, compared with a number. Everybody say that in how many million of dollars. That's not correct actually. It's sometimes it can be like the performance of the machine or the cost optimizations and everything.
And I think those elements as well, when you say you are reducing the time span of certain task or you are making some machine more efficient, indirectly it falls down to the revenue as well, because these are small things, unnoticeable, but at the end of the day they add up to be a
OE is a very important, OE is a very important term in manufacturing, that overall equipment efficiency. So how much efficient we are running the machine, so that is very important.
Some of them, many cases, like one of our customer who has about 76 units or something, most of the locations, the machines are run at 60% of its capacity or even less. We were in, now it's been one of the trend in Germany that's, manufacturers of one particular segment, they're consolidating their production.
Yeah, correct.
When they're looking at it, they had huge, humongous assets, hectares of land full of, manufacturing production units. For their capacity was coming down because of digital growth and everything.
Yeah.
People were not turning up.
This was into print, I believe. Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So when we were analyzing that, what they have identified, their plants were utilized less than 30% to its capacity. Then they've decided to shut down few of them, then try to consolidate their production to a few strategic locations. And that was a decision they've been able to do because they had a data.
Right.
And when they decided to push forward to consolidate their production, they wanted better equipped Industry 4.0 to play a vital role for them.
Yeah.
Because now they're going to use the maximum, read the maximum output out of their benchmark of
the ROI is going to come now, I believe.
Yeah, so the ROI is very visible down there. And now, even with that, if you can further, now they're making the 85% and 90% of its capacity utilization. Now how will you further improve it? You would need to look at every penny that you're going to spend on your raw material, consumables, your utility, then and the machine's performance. Even with those power sources, either the diesel generator or the solar, every component. Only when you look at them through a very detailed, data points, then you will be able to see that you can save X amount of spend budget, X amount on your budget every year.
I think when we go to some industries, we also see that the landscape has changed a little. For example, print, and they're a little hesitant to invest in Industry 4.0 now because of the perception we just discussed that it's a huge investment. But then there are companies also who adopted early on, and Industry 4.0 helped them to navigate
like
the
automobile
lanes. Yeah. Right. So I think early adoption, or maybe today is the right time before the landscape changes, because it's already changing. Adopting Industry 4.0 early on will help you to navigate the path ahead, I believe.
And the right time, when you mentioned about the right time, being right in the moment, the discussion in the Europe, majorly, the industrial, center of Europe, is Germany. Wherein Germany is now facing a threat even on their prime business model of automobiles, where the Chinese manufacturers are taking over their coming up with products that are beyond their production capacity in form of futuristic solutions.
So, Sonali, when we talk about the timing, it's very important that start us today itself. The reason is that data gives you the output. Okay, you need the data. If you are starting today, then only you have the data. Then only you can do something tomorrow. So at least as a phase one, we have to start today. So we have to take a decision that what we are going to achieve or something is different.
But that's why I was talking about being visionary from the beginning.
Yeah, from the beginning. So at least don't lose the data. If my machine is running, those are the gold thing, okay, which is required. Because everybody is going behind the AI and everything, right? If you want to do something AI, what is going to help me if I'm getting some input of some other industries or something where I don't have my own data? My operating culture, my data, my machine, everything is different from others, right? So I need my data to do something out of that one. So today is a time we have to start right now.
Like machines are talking data, you need to make the best out of it, right?
In fact, machines are silently speaking.
Speech.
Usually, that you need to have ears to listen to it.
Yes.
That's where the digitization coming into picture.
So we discussed about an array of benefits. We discussed about the challenges also. But a question that comes is about the adoption, because it varies. You will look at different reports. You will get different numbers when it comes to adoption, because it varies across industries and across geographical locations as well.
Right.
So what is your take on that? How is the adoption of Industry 4.0 in different sectors?
If you see the stats, the overall adoption of Industry 4.0, it's growing rapidly. Even if I talk about by the 2028, the research say it is the market size of Industry 4.0 is triple its evaluation, and it's going beyond 300 billion. And the expenditure, if I talk about the manufacturing, like we have been talking about the manufacturing industry, and now the manufacturing industry is spending huge on the IT. That has steadily improved from 5% to 20% from 2011 to 2021. So in a decade, it has been improved much. So where they are investing on everything, Industry 4.0, new technologies, AI, Gen AI, how they can improve the ROI, how they can make the organization more stabilized, make more competitive in the market, how they can increase the return on the investment. So all those things.
And when there's always a disruptive game changer comes in the play, like Gen AI for the latest example. Everyone gets into a little panic mode, wherein they always think, what's in me to invest in Gen AI? Is it right? Is it wrong? So
But they want to, but they don't know.
Right.
yeah, they always want to take a bite of it. They always want to taste the ultimate dreamy outcome that's always poised out.
Because everyone is talking about
Correct.
it. Whenever I'm going in nowadays board line discussions, that is one of the agenda that Gen A. If you don't have Gen A, you are done.
Right.
Okay, so that's a normal discussion which happened right now in the industry.
Yeah.
And also Industry 4.0, the importance, many countries identified and they started giving the subsidy. I think one of the country which we are working, I think Abdullah can give more input.
Yeah, we've been working with the Ministry of Bahrain. They have giving subsidizing 50% of their digitization or Industry 4.0 implementation the country's manufacturers going to do. Even Ministry of Industrial Advancement and Trade, there's a Ministry of Digitization for UAE.
No,
They've coined it in the recent years to promote the manufacturing growth, diversification away from fossil fuels.
Growth of countries also depending upon manufacturing side.
understanding the importance and promoting it, I believe,
Correct.
by campaigns.
Now country is promoting so that we can understand how important it is.
Yeah.
So everyone has started believing, not like talking
Right.
about it, started believing very firmly. And many companies in the bottom, like as I mentioned, started demanding digitization from the top. But there are not enough right resources or the heads who knows how to get the best out of it. That's a shortcoming.
What's there? So I think there you need a partner who understands you
Yes.
and
Right.
acts as an extension of your company.
So they always need more than a technology provider. They need a solution partner who can understand look at their business, assess them through their lenses, and identify their problems and guide them. If you invest in this particular priority, this would be the amount of difference that's going to make come into your business in form of actions, in form of revenue, in form of excellence altogether. So when you have somebody to trust on, bank on, and then that person is able to produce results, like I mentioned, let us go in phases. Start small, taste it, enjoy it,
And then
then scale it further. Then that makes you a comfortable investor on Industry 4.0 digitization, and don't go for unnecessary spend from the day one. It's not necessary.
They should have a long vision that, what we are going to achieve in a 3-year plan or 2-year plan like that. They should have a vision on that. How and what, when, who, all these questions. Because,
Right.
anyway, some of the manufacturing unit which I saw that they uses their internal resources to create an Industry 4.0 environment. it's a wrong decision, right? They are not expert end to end, right? They may be very good in their process, but from the start to end, they are not expert in that one. Identifying the right vendor, taking the decision that what exactly going to be done, from starting the data capture to the return, to return to the investment. Till that factor, if a vendor can help you, then it has more value than one of the biggest project which we are doing regarding the power sector. What we saw is that the phase one, they split in the project to phase one and phase two. The phase one was done completely like a data capturing and do some exercise or something like that. They went and did some assessment without seeing what exactly we want to achieve on the phase two. Right. It's a big organization.
Yeah.
It's a bigger organization.
Yeah,
Not
I think
small
there were 1,300 substations.
substations in that, and it's a power project actually. So what happened is that it's bigger organization without a vision. They started the phase one, and now they're facing the problem because they cannot scale that. So the planning should start from how we can scale. What is my vision for the 3 year? Which all activity I have to do, and what outcome which we are going to do in future. If any requirements are coming, is it scalable? These questions need to be answered, and the vendor also should be qualified for that.
I've also seen this thing that company is setting up a separate team for the digital transformation.
They should ideally. I think that's the
But
approach.
that's not integrated with the operational, the central IT team, with the production. So if you start, that lead to the isolated approach. That doesn't fit with the business strategy.
No, it should not be like a separate in an research in the industrialization or a industry digitalization smart factory team. No, that they need to know the ground level problems.
Right.
So it's actually again and one more thing attached to it is the change management.
Yes.
Right. So the people who are at the ground with the machines, with the process, in a stakeholdership, they need to be involved in this.
Right.
But there should be a brain who should be able to guide. That can be decided as a person who can head, or there's a team who can guide them. But end of the day, the entire team need to be dwelled very deep into this decision. And but ultimately, the decision has to come from the top, not from the bottom.
So constantly we are stressing on the, as you started, we stressed on the assessment, the vision assessment. And I think planning is, I think that's what you need to get correct before you get into implementation. And that's what we discussed right now.
Correct.
But when it comes to implementation, we talked about you need a correct vendor, but there is a step-by-step process that we follow. And that's a foolproof plan that we have made, that this is what works for large-scale industries and small-scale industries as well. So what is the correct way to implement it? What is the step-by-step way to implement Industry 4.0 to set you on the right path?
Assessment is the first thing. We have to do the complete assessment because it's very particular to my industry. Okay, very particular to my operations, my culture. Okay, the assessment is very important. Do the assessment.
Yeah.
Okay. Second is a planning. We have to plan. Okay, because as an organization, they have to set certain goal that what they are trying to achieve out of that one. Because after assessment, you will get hundreds of suggestions. Out of that, what gives a more value to me, that the organization, the CXOs or the main people has to take a decision on that. And based on that, say like, I got 100 problems or 100 suggestions. Out of that, I take the 50 problems or 50 suggestions. From there, the planning has to execute, identify the vendor, the right vendor, continuously monitor that, and tie up with them.
So once you have the vendor, what are the steps ahead? You guide through the once you have a vendor, then how do you go about it? What are the steps involved to actually implementing Industry 4.0 according to your data, according to your needs? How do you...
Before even dwelling into the steps, with our Azure AI, what we have seen, or rather, being the change maker, or being the differentiator in the competition, where you have all the big brands talking about Industry 4.0, right? And our ability, stood or stands very tall, or differentiates us very uniquely, with ability to capture data from irrespective of the brand, irrespective of the kind of machines, whether it's a greenfield or brownfield ecosystem. Irrespective of any such challenges, we are able to capture data from any type of machines, any kind of equipments, any softwares, hardwares, name it. So that, and real time, more importantly. So, we are not just doing data inference and mining out of the, historical data. We use that to set the benchmarks. At the same time, we work real time data to derive several analysis and outcome as well.
And Abdullah, you talked about the brownfield. Suppose I'm running a company that's having a 50-year-old machine, then how we are going to implement it?
So I'll give you with an example of a similar case. We have another, a global leader in the packaging segment whom we deal with. How they have become a much larger of an organization by acquiring many brownfield companies. Who, when you acquire a company which is in sole proprietorship run by somebody, and when you acquire the entire plant and run under your umbrella, and that they are coming with 25 years of legacy of operating in a certain way. So they have a different culture, they have different way of working things out, they have different systems they've been using in it. So implementing your system itself becomes one small starting trouble. But for us, when you talk about the industry 4.0, for us, we see machines immaterial to what kind or age, brand in the same lens. If there are most modern equipments, we'll be able to plug in and get the data captured right from them. If it's a legacy equipment, we'll have to put sensors or necessary connection points, IoT devices to capture the data from them.
This is one of point, which one of the problems which people take a decision on whether I should start industry 4.0 or something, because they think that I have a very old machine. No, I cannot invest a new era, new automated machines. I cannot invest right now. So I should not be investing on industry 4.0 also. This is a wrong, one of the perception that many customers used to have. So how Harns is different in this, because when we approach the customer, it's very easy for us to say install a lot of sensors there, invest or something like that. However, even sensors cost are very cheap right now. Comparing with the previous years, and it's becoming cheaper and cheaper every time. What the difference Harns is making is that we identified existing data sources and maximum possibilities. We identify, we take those data. Okay, then if some of the data cannot be captured right now from the existing hardware or something, then only we will be investing there. With a new sensor or some PLCs or something like that.
So the step one, when somebody collaborates with Harns to implement Industry 4.0, the step one is you do the assessment of their current infrastructure, whether it's a greenfield, brownfield, tier 1 machinery or tier 2 machinery, whatever it is, right? That's the step. What's the step 2? Where do you go from there?
From the step 2, we submit the assessment report to them, where the scope of improvements are there. All the reports will be submitted to them. We will have an interaction with them, and they will take a decision that, okay, I'm very much impressed with, says like a 10 parameter or something like that, or, the complete assessment what we are giving. That purely depending upon their investments and capacity and all, right? So, after getting out the suggestions, what we does is that we give a technical proposal to them. That
That's
how
step 3.
Step 3, that Harns will be giving a proper technical documentation to them that this is how we can implement, considering their infrastructure. This may not match with other IT infrastructure of other organizations.
So even if it's the same industry, it will not match.
It will not match because they will have entirely different architecture which will be managed there. So considering their IT infrastructure, best of practices which that organization follows, we create a proper technical document with a technical architecture. We submit to them, we review with their internal IT team or internal technical team, and from there we goes to the commercial. Okay, then rounds of discussions on the commercial part and everything, then the implementation starts.
So when it comes to implementation, is it so? I've seen that we create really beautiful dashboards which is easy to interpret. So how do we reach till that point, and how do we develop those dashboards to give a very clear pictures to our customers?
Like in the beginning, as I mentioned, it all starts with the vision, what the company sets. When we capture the data, it always boils down to solving a problem. So it's like if we have a dashboard with so many random data points, will not solve any problem. So anyone's purpose. When we capture the data, we connect with the business goals very efficiently, and we'll show the data presented into the metrics that is necessary for different kind of user groups. So if somebody who's heading a shop floor does not need to know what is happening in some other plant.
Right.
And if you are centralizing the multiple production units data into one particular screen. So if you are at a CXO or director or a senior stakeholdership, you would want to know the comparative study between different locations, machine-wise health analysis. You would want to know where my budget is getting utilized efficiently, right? The cost versus the production, the OE, everything that can be presented based on the user group that we define.
I enunciated because I was highly impressed with the dashboard, because sometimes when you think about data, that's beautiful. Right? When people think about data visualization, they think about complex charts and graphs. So it is not easy to understand. But with the dashboards that is created by our teams, I really like them. And
so generally, people have a notion here. It's very easy to create dashboards. Yeah, by design, it's easy to create dashboards. How do you bring meaningful outcome of data to the dashboard is more important.
Yes.
So that comes with studying the ground level problems, then identifying the solution for an architecture, and then starting with solving them by starting the data capture, then bringing analytics prediction on top of that. Then this data gets presented to decisive metrics.
Okay, so when we talk about how Harns handle this one, this phase, how Harns, because many times when we approach the customer used to think that we customize those things for them, right? So when we customize too much for them, it will be like a very costly affair. But Harns has a backend which can take any data, any type of data from different sources, whether it's a devices or databases or anything, any devices, and we can capture those data. And these are the analytical data. Okay, these analytical data, and we can store that. And on the top, we will be capturing the operational data too. Okay, and everything will come to a single database type of thing. And from there, we customize the dashboard for the customer. Because when we talk about packaging, oil, gas, or print, retail, any type of industry, even though the terminology is same, the visualization will be entirely different. So we customize for them and we visualize them.
So one more question, again a cliche question, but we do get: what is the success rate when it comes to implementation of Industry 4.0?
There is always success that is easy. Well, if you want me to talk about successful use cases or the success stories of Industry 4.0, there's plenty. Talk about BMW, talk about Unilever, talk about Pfizer. All the big brands have showcased their successful implementation journey to the public.
Right.
And there has been several failures as well.
Like you were mentioning about General Motors, right?
Yeah, when General Motors, they've even spent quite a amounts in billions, then still could not get the result. So this is where I'm boiling down to make decisions that are wise.
Yeah.
Take opinion from those who start or capable of understanding the machine data and making inference out of it in a way that business needs.
So it's not a decision that you make on the market stats, I believe. It's very personal to your business, in particular to
your own assessment, your planning, your vendor.
Right.
3 things.
3 are there, you are done.
So, and I was referring to one of the company where we implemented Industry 4.0 successfully, then gone to their direct competitor to identify their problems. The entire workflow is different.
Yeah.
Input and output is same, but the workflow is different. How their architecture is different. And if you try to implement some solution there, it cannot be a copy-paste.
Yeah, so it's not a one size fit all thing.
Yeah, it cannot be one size fit all.
The languages are same. When we talk about different terminologies, everything will be same.
Correct.
The workflow is different.
So their culture is entirely different and other organizations. So it won't match.
Their logistical scenarios from air movement, people movement, material movement, consent structure, and how the manpower is utilized cross-functionally or within the function. It's all different. So we have to study everything before we make a commitment to the customer. So this is always a thin layer people kind of miss out. We have been dealing with people who have been there doing it for successfully building a very large ecosystem for many large companies. But when they always come short on the taking decisions on Industry 4.0 in format. In a way, they look at it. It's only about capturing a data. It's only about. I have been to one conference. I've been into one event. I've seen my competitors speaking about they've achieved something in a X format. Let me try to replicate that. Let me try to get that same vendor. It's good. You can talk to that vendor, but always try to spell out your problems.
Yeah.
Then try to replicate what they have done. You just come and implement it. No, that's not going to work. Then you will have only failure stories rather than success stories.
True. So also one more thing, there are a lot of inhibitions when you go to a customer and talk about Industry 4.0. If you many people, they talk about efficiency, but that's not convincing enough for the CXOs. And they come with their own set of inhibitions. So what are these inhibitions? You talk to many CXO, many businesses. What are these inhibitions and how it can be eliminated?
So inhibitions primarily are with a cluelessness of where to start from.
Yeah.
It's not like see, they have budget, yes, they have money. They have seen people doing it, yes. They have seen people succeed and fail both. Now they have to invest. They see primarily one problem as we admit, they assume it is an expensive affair, very expensive affair, because they see big success stories from very large companies.
Yeah.
Right. And second, there's a lot of buzzwords around it. In this 4.0 can do X thing, Y thing. But again, there's always, this gets people confused. Whether
It does.
is it the right way, and should I do the predictive maintenance first, do something else first, something else. So always look at your process, your production ecosystem, and look at the problems. What outcome by solving each problem can bring onto the table.
Yeah, still the production can run, still all the operation can run, but are we future ready? That is very important.
True. Yeah. That's the primary vision has to be there. Yeah.
But it's not only, I think the inhibition also comes from a place because it is not an individual who is making the decision. There is a buying center to it. So that individual needs to go now and convince 10 other people that this is the way to go for our business and this will bring the ROI. So he is setting the stage for it. So what are the metrics, top metrics he or she should be looking at and focusing on to convince this buying center when he's trying to implement or she's trying to implement Industry 4.0?
So, when a company taking a decision, start talking about Industry 4.0, okay, either they already might have heard from someone that, there is a necessity of that one, or, they feel like everybody did, we have not done that, right?
Yeah, more of the same FOMO sort of. I'm feeling missed out of the larger thing.
Zero with AI, like everybody's doing AI.
Same like AI.
Yeah.
Correct.
We talked about adoption. We constantly talk that people have this perception of huge investment. People have this perception that it requires a lot of time. There has to be an ROI. It requires a lot of resources. That's because generally when some new technology is coming up, the early adopters are the giants. And from there, it transcends to the medium and the small industries. Can Industry 4.0 be implemented in a small industry or small business manufacturing unit?
Possible.
Investment
is very minimal as well. So again, when you look at larger companies, why they have been able to succeed and be the front runner, the pioneer in the adoption of AI technologies, is always because they had the right people to guide them. Right. If you are a manufacturer, so we have come across a banking institution. They have about 400 branches across Africa and MENA region. They still follow a very manual, reporting system. It doesn't need any machine data, but yes, the small workflow automation when we offered it was able to solve much larger problem for them. Right. At the same time, so this is always everything need to be looked at based on the problems. when and it's not because what is happening in the market. Many people are doing some level of robotic arms. This may not be necessary for
I think the
all
operation also squeezes down. The operation is not that big. The workflows are
you can
small.
you get a complete clarity of what is happening in and out of your organization.
Right.
You'll not go out of your control, right? You'll be able to guide your team. You can make the people see. You have manpower that needs to excel on a day-to-day basis. When you have the data, when you'll be able to tell the people that, see, your performance is X, next, I would expect the next quarter by it to be X plus 2. If I need to tell them, I need to have the data at my reference.
Yeah.
Right? Of the machine, of the work, a combination between human, machine, and system. Right? Then what implication it has on the process. So we can continuously improvise everyone's health, everyone's work culture, everyone's productivity altogether.
And it's not about only production we're talking about. It's Industry 4.0 is not only helping the manufacturing. It's helping from how much raw material we need to purchase, how much inventory we need to put, how the machine is working, how much we also track the inventory is going towards the end customer. So in all, we are providing the ROI to the customer. So it's a big circle, it's a big umbrella, and these are sub-segments that we were talking about.
In supply chain, when Unilever has a very big success story to say.
Yeah.
After implementing Industry 4.0 to their supply chain, they have been able to deliver products, plan the deliveries much in advance for seasons. Like in large Amazon or such large company. Even Amazon have even invested on Industry 4.0 for their warehouses, bringing automation to their warehouses. Now, adding on to that, some of their warehouses have become completely robotic.
Yep.
Right?
That's right.
You give the order, system will pick it, pack it, and make it ready for delivery when drones are there to deliver it.
Correct.
Adding to Tushar's point, the inventory. Under inventory is also a problem, or inventory is also a problem.
Right.
When it comes to the production critical system, one machine, if you consider one machine, 2 machines spares will be there. That's their inventory.
Building cost is also there. Right?
It's a huge investment. They have to make it, and which may be lying there. Okay, which may not be used only. Okay, so an intelligence system only can help you to decide that what is the optimal inventory that you have to keep it. So it has a very good role there.
I'll add one point here with an oil and gas, the customer when we were talking to them. It's an offshore business, like it's middle of the sea operation, wherein they have people staying in the middle of the sea. They have operations running. They have the ships get started according to their production. Gets prepared, material gets prepared, crude gets prepared, and they get shipped from there. So since they completely stay disconnected, more or less disconnected from the regular life there, any trouble that causes failure of any equipment will lead to millions and billions of dollar loss.
Yeah.
On a per hour, per day, right? So this has made the company to look at, and they always been on keeping a 2-3 layer buffer of components at their shelf, because on an emergency replacement shutdown, they have to send ship or airlift.
Yeah.
The emergencies is such a huge expensive affair. And it can even cause to harm someone's life as well if that's not managed properly. So they always take additional precaution, like as I mentioned, overspending on inventory because you don't know what is happening around, or you are not able to predict what could be done right.
Adding to that on the prediction forecasting, this has a very good role here. Like one example, like one of the power sector that in the forecasting, that when the power demand comes, when the huge demand is there, and if you want to procure that, at that time, if you want to purchase, where the cost will be very high. So one of our customer, where we implemented that, we forecast the demand to the customer depending upon the day, like, some festival may be there, time, temperature, everything is matter there. So we forecast that this is a demand going to be, so that they can give the advance, purchase order to the grid, so that, they can procure and for the minimal cost.
So, what I'm understanding is it is not just reducing whatever you have extra. I mean, it is looking at both the sides, I believe. You might be over maintaining, you might be under maintaining, but it's telling you the accurate thing to do when it comes to inventory, when it comes to maintenance. But I'd like to expand on the very interesting thing you said is forecasting. So, how does Industry 4.0 helps in forecasting, and to what extent, it can benefit the businesses, and in what ways? Can you give some interesting use cases of this forecasts?
Yeah, one of the use cases which I was mentioning is forecasting, because when we talk about the power, the purchase cost of the power is very high, because the private sector, if they want to get the power from the national grid, when the demand is very high, if you're trying to purchase at that time, the cost will be like too high, and what will happen? The energy cannot store.
Yes.
That's the biggest problem. That I can purchase some megawatts of electricity right now, and I cannot store that. So our forecasting should be it should be accurate. Otherwise, a lot of loss also will be happening. So this gives a lot of a mileage to the this type of customer. The forecasting, how it is beneficial for us.
Now that AI has come into the picture, people are looking at AI in a different light, and they're looking at the wider possibilities, and businesses are adopting it right now. So, how AI can contribute to Industry 4.0, or how is it already contributing to Industry 4.0?
So AI helps me very vast manner. Like one example, like in the quality control. In quality control, one example what we did is a visual inspection. That the products which is getting outputted. Many jobs are running, right? So the output product we continuously start scanning, and these images, images or video, we continuously inspect that and gives a feedback that what any problem with the product, which will be giving a feedback, and the quality control can be done. This is one example we can say. And the other thing is that energy optimization. The AI system continuously learn the behavior of each machine, how the energy patterns are going, and which identify that when how the energy consumptions are varying, and it gives different insight back to the user, and where we can optimize these things. So, even we were talking about the predictive maintenance. AI is coming to that picture, right? And the predictions, normal predictions, and everything, where also AI comes into the picture. So, AI gives a lot of advantage to the Industry 4.0.
Right. Um, Also, now AI and with Industry 4.0, both there is a perception that these are two technologies which take away jobs, and that is a inhibition with the workforce, and that's why sometimes they kind of not accept the incoming of these technologies into their organizations. They're a little hesitant, and there's a resistance from their end. So, will Industry 4.0 combined with AI take away jobs? A cliche question, but needs to be
So
addressed.
this actually happened on Industry 3.0 when the automation comes. What was the importance of automation? Automation is to do, automate the things which is a repetitive work, or the manpower. How we can optimize the manpower. So those activities are completed on 3.0. In 4.0, the primary goal is that data drive your process. Yes, lot of hard works. People are doing the repeated work which people are doing can be completely avoided using the artificial intelligence and the Industry 4.0 and all. Okay. But it is not a replacement. It's like upskilling the manpower. It's like the initial discussion I said. It's like a reshaping, the workforce to a next level. And these systems are actually helping, take a proper decisions, or some creative, planning and all.
When you mention about upskilling, which is being said to be as most mandatory. Now, I'll put it this way: if you don't upskill, or if you don't as a company, as an individual, if you don't upskill, or if you don't adapt, adopt, if you don't adapt to the, in the digitization, the digitized companies will take over your market share.
It's true.
Or your place.
It's very important that, suppose if you are not running on a highly efficient manner, and still if you are following like a manual process and everything, things has to happen very fast, right? Then only we can increase our productivity. If we are not doing that, what will happen? Our cost of production is too high, and we cannot win the competitive market.
Very true.
Also, going back to the upskilling section, right now, as we discussed at the beginning of this episode, that the demand for the upskilled people who are more efficient with advanced technology is going to increase by 50%. So when you were discussing about AR and now probably with AI combined, the workforce can be upskilled in a much better way with lower energy, with lower cost and lower resources, I believe. I think AR and AI can combine help manufacturers to upskill their existing workforce and upgrade them and use them, I believe.
Yeah, true. Because they can they get more technological advancement. They are getting more smart assistants and all, so they can be more productive than looking as I cannot people cannot AI or anything cannot replace the people because it's just an assistant for you.
Right.
Ultimately the decision you have to take it. It's only the path. Like I always say, it's only path. It's not a destination. AI will help you. It will ease your process. We can produce or we can achieve more success into that. That's it. Other than that, replacing the people.
So, throughout this episode, we talked about the inhibitions, the correct approach, the success rate, the failure rate, the reason behind it, how Industry 4.0 has been talked about a lot, but where are the gaps? And our experiences of talking to CXOs and understanding their visions. So, there is some amount of, I believe, gap and a little bit of learning and understanding needs to be there. So, how does Hans, as a company, is solving this problem and making implementing Industry 4.0 more productive and smooth?
Okay, Hans is an organization, having huge number of skilled, manpowers, like in the segment of manufacture, as well as on IT background. Okay, so our expertise actually helps them to take a certain decisions, to guide them, on the manufacturing process. Okay, as if you see the Hans, the team, we have very expert team, who actually captures the data. Now, which is one of the biggest pain point that in a manufacturing environment, if you see that all type of machines are there, many places, you can see that even the high end machines, those are like a very advanced machines, maybe installed there, and they have a high automations also, but these machines never talk together. Okay, so Hans comes into the picture. We identify all the data sources, we connect with the data sources, we captures your data depending upon the importance of the data. That is very important. And also we should know the influencing factor for the particular operation. Suppose if you are doing a particular job, a lot of influencing factors will be there. It can be a climate, it can be something like allocation of the manpower, the shift, machine availability. A lot of factors comes into the picture which a human cannot imagine or can do a smart planning, right? So Hans, the technology, as a technology partner, if you are considering as a Hans comes with the values in terms of the data capturing, okay, data manipulations, what we are doing, data analytics, what we are doing, and the forecasting and all the sides of Industry 4.0. Hans will be able to contribute to that.
I would put it this way: Hans should be looked at as a machine doctor. All right, we have ability to read machines, build communication with them, understand their language, and present it with all the rest of the organization's communication channels through ERPs or any other systems, and bring meaningful, decisive outcomes. This is a very rare yet very unique ability that many companies do possess. But when it comes to what we have been able to do, as I'll repeat a little bit about the earlier mention, that we are brand neutral.
Yeah.
Irrespective of the brand, irrespective of the kind of machines, either there's legacy equipments or the most modern equipments, we are capable of handling them successfully. So we are, an expert, health, provider for machines, more than machines, bringing inferences out of them and produce accuracies that's helping the organization to thrive upon decided on a regular basis.
expertise on different sectors, like
Yeah.
we are into healthcare, we are into all type of businesses. So like we create the custom workflow for the user, so we understand their workflow. Okay, we understand their pain, we understand their entire process. So those advantages actually leveraging the the Harns as a team who's a right partner for the manufacturing sector.
So, where do you see Industry 4.0 heading in the next 5 to 10 years?
I think most of the organization is still working towards Industry 4.0. They have somewhat, they say that we have implemented, like Azhar told about, like you told about, that they are gathering data, but decision making is the biggest thing. They are working towards it. But if we see the next 5 years, 50 to 60% organization would have been implemented. That's what we can think about.
And adding to that, on the top of Industry 4.0 now, that on the buzzwords which is coming as
Right.
generative AI, right?
Yeah.
So even Hans is expertise in that. When you asked about that one, we are expertise on the corporate GPT and industry GPT, which we are closely working with the, the brands like AWS and or where it has more value. That, what we does is that all this data which we capture, which we are converting now as a generative AI, that, normal person can go and just type the question there as a prompt and it will guide you. So that valuation also add here.
Well, I'll put some inferences in form of the Fortune 500 companies who existed back in 2000, in the year of 2000, and in comparison to what is the status in 2019 or 20, in 20 years in time, only 100 of them existed in that list,
Yeah.
right? The new 400 companies came onto that.
Right.
Right.
So it's a very fascinating data when you look at the manufacturers who did not adapt themselves to the changing dynamic digitization and changing environment, fast moving decisions. Whoever could not adapt to that have always fallen behind. And when you look at this reality check, and companies now even facing even tighter competition. Every day is being challenged in terms of being optimal, being running productive, and being there and doing it, and chasing the most modern technology. If you look at the manufacturers of the companies at large, there are people who are, like Tushar mentioned earlier, people who are still on the back foot, people who are still overspending. When you have all kind of people, that's common for any group of audience. But one thing is very clear in everyone's mind, or rather everyone should be believing or making themselves very clear. If you don't understand your problem and try not solving your problem either through digitization or some way or the other, on some arm of through Industry 4.0, you will be left behind.
That's right.
And with this realization, many companies have already realized this, and many are exploring ways of implementing it, different ways of addressing this situation what they are in. And everyone feels the larger companies are taking over the entire market share, and those small medium companies are only suffering. It's only because they are not able to step up and to make decisions that's necessary. So to help them, and we have a team like Hans is always available, and there will be many other companies who would be trying to offer same. Always try to learn what could be done better. What could be the first step? What are the problems that I have? They have, and what are the problems that can be prioritized? And why don't we step into assessing what problems can be tapped first in the roadmap? So make at least a baby step first. Test it, indulge in it, and start tasting the result. Then think of scaling up.
Great. I think it was a very good chat having you all today, and it was quite productive, and we got to discuss a lot when it comes to Industry 4.0. So thank you so much. I hope you had a good time too.
Thank you, Sonali. Thank you for having us.